Well, Jubilee weekend is behind us, and we leave the pattern of that weekend with high pressure to the north, low pressure to the south, bringing some glorious weather across the northern half of the British Isles, somewhat different across the south. Showers, thunderstorms, with a legacy of cloud cover that kept temperatures of daytime temperatures, that is, of only 10, 11 Celsius during the afternoon period. So remarkably cool across the south. We had the temperatures at to slightly above average across the north, where we had the sunshine. But the reason why I've got this page up, this is my summer forecast on marvelwinweather.com, is because I have made some minor adjustments to the overall forecast, because June is looking somewhat more interesting, and slightly it's kind of starting to adjust my thinking with regards to the heart of the summer season. The reason why is we've had average to slightly above average rainfall during the month of May, and we're starting to change the overall scope, the overall setup as we progress through into week 2 of June. Rainfall looks to be average to above average over the next couple of weeks across the British Isles, and when you start to moisten those soils, that can have a different feedback to the atmosphere, and we'll discuss that in just a wee second here. So if you haven't already, do check out my summer forecast. Like I say, it has been ever so slightly adjusted, and I suppose you could say that it's leaning a little bit more towards cooler and wetter for the June through August period overall. So do check that out, and if you're bored. So yeah, interesting to say the least. This is the June temperature anomaly chart for Europe so far, and we've got slightly below normal if you notice across eastern Scotland. But look at England and Wales, below normal quite firmly. Western side of Iberia below normal, also along the north coast of Germany, Netherlands, Poland, Baltic states as well, and we've got, of course, a lot of warmth as well. France, Central Europe, southern portions of Europe. I think we've got a hot summer starting to show its hand across the Mediterranean countries, but it's really across the UK that things are going to be very, very interesting, because we've got this battle, and I've highlighted this for some time now, this battle between Atlantic and continental, and it looks as if, certainly for the first half of June, the Atlantic is winning that atmospheric battle across the British Isles. Looking at the 500 millibar height anomaly chart, this is off the CFSV2, reversal of the pattern we've just seen. So we're now got low pressure up towards the north, high pressure towards the south. This is quite an extreme pattern in terms of heat across Spain, Portugal, France, Central Europe. But we've got a fairly pronounced trough, if you notice here, leaning in towards the British Isles. And we've got a couple of features now moving in to the UK later today, into tomorrow, and then we've got, of course, former tropical storm Alex, which is still at the moment a tropical storm, but it will have wind and rain impacts on the UK towards the end of the work week here, and it's looking as if it might, we may see more low pressure moving into the UK. So at this moment in time, we don't have any imminent signs of true heat from Spain, from Portugal, lifting up into the UK. The Atlantic is providing enough resistance, enough pressure on that area of high pressure to then deflect any kind of real heat in the central portions of Europe, not towards the British Isles. Now, that isn't me saying that we're not going to get any type of summer this year, but certainly at the moment there is a good deal of resistance, and when you start to lay down that wetter than normal soil, you can have impacts later down the road. So week 1 of the CFSV2 looks like this. Look at week 2. So we've got the trough now extending from the Atlantic in across the British Isles, again deflecting the ridge, the hot air in the central portions of Europe. Week 3, you could argue that there is still somewhat of a trough over the British Isles and Ireland here for this period here. And this is taking us out to the 20th to the 27th of June, if you notice here. So still, it doesn't look as if we've got this ridge. And remember the CFSV2 not that long ago had week 2, the ridge coming north. That is now backed away completely. Looking at the precipitation, and this is quite significant, I think, anyway. So week 1 looks like this here: wettest across Western Scotland, across Ireland, Northern Ireland, drier than normal across the south. Always going to be drier, sunnier, and warmer the further south and the further east you go over the British Isles. Very classic for British summertime. Then in the week 2, firmly wetter than normal, and this could be significant, folks. This could be some. I still do think that we're going to have short, sharp bursts of summer heat this summer, and we could see big swings back and forth between hot and dry at times, but also and potentially longer spells of cooler and wetter, low pressure dominated pattern. This is week 3, by the way, still wetter than normal, and that is, like I say, time and time again, very interesting indeed. Looking at the 2-meter temperature anomalies here, cooler across the north, so this is again the reversal of what we've just seen. Cooler across the north, warmer across the south, particularly the southeast. Look at Europe, very warm indeed. Spain, Portugal, very hot conditions, now starting to show its hand. Extend from Africa up into Iberia, through France, and then it gets transferred into central portions of Europe, because we've got this trough, this resistance extended from Atlantic into the British Isles here. So yeah, it's going to get quite interesting indeed. GFS, this is the overview chart. Precipitation, there's that pesky area of low pressure that caused all the problems across England and Wales through the Jubilee weekend. That is now over the near continent. We've got this trough here over the Atlantic that is going to send the first disturbance our way later today into tomorrow, then cast your eyes back to the west. We've got the what will become former storm, tropical storm Alex, that never really gets across into the British Isles itself, but we will be on the eastern flank of its wind field. We could see wind gusts in excess of 50 miles an hour along exposed Irish and UK shorelines here, so we'll keep an eye on that certainly as we go forward. And then of course with this type of setup, you're drawn a lot of hot air from Africa up into Europe basically. So the UK is basically left out. That area of low pressure is keeping the heat out of the British Isles. Yeah, we just have to be somewhat patient. How often have I said that? Whether it be cold in the winter time or whether it be warm in the summertime. That area of low pressure, if you notice here, kind of lingers on, according to the GFS, through the weekend coming up. Then we've got another system coming in off the Atlantic here, as you can see. Then that area of high pressure kind of takes a push westwards, opens the door here to all sorts of kind of cool, disturbed type of weather here across a very broad area of the northeast Atlantic, including the British Isles. There is certainly not a great deal of heat to be had with this type of setup. Finally, looking at the 150 millibar temperature chart here, you can see the resistance that I'm talking about from that trough across the northeast of the Atlantic. Now, former storm Alex will actually have a little bit of warmth associated with it. Bear in mind that this system originated in the Pacific, crossed to Mexico, crossed the Caribbean Sea. We had close to a month's worth of rain in South Florida. Now it's crossed over the Atlantic. These ex-tropical systems, of course, do contain some warmth, but you notice here that it cycles in a lot of chilly air off Greenland, and then it kind of just gets wrapped around the circulation, and we're in the fresh washing machine. Notice here the dark reds representing 850 millibar temperatures in excess of 20, possibly even 25 Celsius. We could see some very significant heat, by the way, with this type of setup. But look, it gets nowhere near the British Isles. It may, if anything, nose into the southeastern half of the country, but the core of it remains well to the south and the east of the British Isles. But look at this here. This is a cool and disappointing pattern as we go towards the second half of June. That is a significant, cool, wet pattern for the British Isles and Ireland here as we go forward. So yeah, it is rather interesting to see where this type of pattern is going, and the deeper we get into the month of June without seeing any real heat, it then starts to add a few question marks as to where we go July and August. So if you haven't already, please check out the summer forecast. I do appreciate you staying right here on the channel. For many people, not as interesting a time of year as it would be December, January, and February, but I do endeavour to try and teach the type of weather pattern that develops and produces a type of weather, rather than just saying it's going to be bright, sunny, or it's going to be cool and wet and windy. I try to explain the origins behind the type of weather that we get here in the UK, and that is always quite interesting, I think. So please drop a comment below, and also like, share, and subscribe to the channel, and I'll be back in the next couple of days with more. Have a great rest of your Tuesday. Bye for now.